the biggest problem I've seen is new companies going to someone who says they can do your full production, they can do your pattern making and your sampling and your everything you need to do, right? There's so many of them out there. And just email me when you found one, okay? And I'll tell you.
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment. Now come on now.
What's up, icons? It's the iconic fashion figure. So during Magic for their sourcing show, they did a seminar on sourcing. The seminar was called Sourcing 102. And the key speaker in the seminar was hitting on a lot of key points that I feel like will be really useful for a lot of you. So I wanted to share this video with you guys and point out some of the key points because I really think it'll be helpful for you. A lot of this stuff I've already said to you guys, but sometimes it helps to hear it from someone else just to reconfirm what it is I'm telling you so you guys know I'm not BSing you. I'm not telling you guys a bunch of nonsense. I'm truly trying to help you. And she's going to confirm that. So let me jump right into the seminar.
Get started. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how many of you, by the way, is just beginning your journey? Quite a few of you. Okay, and how many of you have been in business for more than a year? How many years have you been in business? 7 years? Good. Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to talk about tech packs, and I'm sure you ladies already know what a tech pack is and how important it is, because this is something that you need to have your garments made.
Now really quickly, I've already done a video on tech packs, so I'll link that for you guys, showing you how quickly and easy you can make your tech packs, and you can do it with Excel. So you don't have to have any fancy software to create tech packs. They're really easy, but they are necessary if you are creating your own designs. So I'm gonna let her go ahead and tell you guys about the tech packs too.
Those of you who are coming from an industry that doesn't understand the apparel industry, what I would really strongly suggest is don't go into this until you really get some education as to what goes into making a garment, how it's made, what kind of stitchings you've got, what kind of textiles.
Exactly, there's a lot of details here.
You're taking a little textile class because it's such a complex industry. It's not just about designing one thing. You are creating different things all the time. So having an understanding of textiles, having an understanding of how a garment is constructed, what kind of seaming, who's going to make it is another thing, checking everybody out. So I know it sounds overwhelming, but I really think you spend, a few months just to totally understand what this business is about and what you want to achieve.
This is the research and brainstorming portion of those step-by-steps I gave you guys.
Things go wrong. So just take the time to understand what it is you're doing. The industries change rapidly. So a tech pack is your legal document. It's actually used as a legal document. If you're producing a goods, then they have to follow these instructions.
Exactly. They're necessary. You need a tech pack.
As I say, this is a legal document and you may be able to use it. If, and hopefully not, it comes to that. So it's used to communicate your styles, your details, your production methods to the manufacturing partners. Used to give the pattern, the garments specifications with full details. Shown should be clear enough for the garment to be made without further explanation. Well, so what does it do? The tech pack is created by who? So the designer is the first person who will choose your fabrics, deciding on the styles, and then you work with merchandisers. So the merchandisers will see whether or not this new design is fitting into the line, whether it merchandises with the rest of the products that you've been making. And the technical designer is the one who really takes the designs, dissects it, and then gives all the specifications for that garment. And it may be that the designer is also the technical designer. So the pattern maker, you work with a pattern maker to create the garment. The specifications are written then, as far as all the sizing is concerned, cost analysis, what's it going to cost. And of course, you already know within your mind what this garment, what price point it's going to fit into. So, and if you don't, how are you going to change that? Because you won't get any sales if it's suddenly wholesaling at $200. So, sure that you understand all your costings step by step as you start. And who else? Tech packs used by these people. The cutter, he'll want to make the marker, cost analogy, engineering, marker maker, quality control, purchasing, sample sewer, grader, that's making them larger and smaller, production manager, logistics, how it's going to be shipped.
I did a video on all the terms too. I'll link that as well if you guys don't know what this stuff means.
Factory. So these are all the things that are used for your tech pack. Now we talk a lot about flats. What is a flat? Well, it's really a
These are your
flat
sketches
drawing that gives you all the information as far as the sizing is concerned. So it's used extensively with the industry to explain design details, two-dimensional drawing without a body or drawn to scale. I have in my book some templates. You can always put your paper over it, over a light box, and those of you who are not good at drawing, to start doing your actual drawings of your flats.
So you guys hear that? She's telling you to use a light box and sketch other pictures that you guys may find to actually sketch your designs. I've been telling you guys that you don't have to be an artist to be able to create your fashion designs. You can take pictures off the internet of different parts of a garment that you want and create your design that you need to create, and you're just sketching over. That's what she's talking about with the light box. Literally, when I was in school, that's what they had us do in my first sketching class. We used to sit there with a light box, tracing paper, and we would trace designs. That's initially how I started learning how to create my own designs. Now, of course, most people don't draw by hand anymore. Everything's digital, but you're pretty much doing the same thing on a computer, which is tracing, which I showed you guys in my video on a free app that you can do. So everyone should be able to put their designs into a sketch. It's not hard to do. It's not uncommon to sketch from previously created images. I paid a lot of money to go to school, and that was the first way they taught us how to do it before we actually started creating our own freehand. Trust me, it's not uncommon. Don't let people put in your head that you're not supposed to do it. A lot of designers actually do it.
Usually black and white line drawings, no colors are included, and the style lines are there, but they can be colored, or you can have the prints, but usually they're just flats so you can get the details. Information for the tech pack. When's the season? When are you launching? Is it going to be spring, summer, winter, fall 2, spring 1, spring 2? What is the season? Of course, these days trends are so varied, as we know. Most people are wearing whatever they want, but size and season is very important. American sizing is all over the place. They've got no specifications as to what sizing should be, and we're seeing more and more of what we call vanity sizing. You've probably noticed it, you know, that maybe 20 years ago fitting a size 4, but now that size 4 is a 10. So there's things change so rapidly, and so understanding what's your sizing you're going to do and how you're going to produce it. What else is on it? It's your base size, which you usually start with.
All the information in the tech pack. You can screenshot this too.
Your design number. You'll have design number, so you could start off with maybe using your initial. Maybe you've got more than designers. Pattern number 1. For me, it would be FH. Pattern number 1. Pattern number 2. That pattern number is very different from a style number. The style number is used when a garment is accepted into the line. Then you have created a style number, or you can have, and then they create a SKU from that. So the other information, your fabrics, your trims, your colors, hang tags and labels, where are they going to be placed, artwork, where are they going to be placed, size, color placement.
All this is in my tech pack video.
And packaging. Garment
Here's
summary.
an example.
So you can see that this is giving you an idea of what it looks like front and back, and the colors that are used. These are all part of your tech pack. Where's your artwork going to be placed? Giving them exact directions as to where they will be put. Specification details with construction notes. Has it got what kind of buttonholes, top stitching? That would also be included in your tech pack. And then, of course, the hang tags. What kind of a hang tag are you using, and the placement for the hang tags. Care information is also very important. Bill of material. This is a list of all the material that goes into a garment. Your pattern cards have got all the information. 1 front, 2 backs, 2 sleeves, 1 top collar, 1 under collar, or in this case it's a skirt. So all this information goes on to the pattern sheet. Construction details, how it's constructed. This is very important because sometimes you can make things in different ways. All your measurements, cross chest, your shoulders. And if you're not used to pattern making and you're not used to measurements, I always suggest you go into a changing room with your ruler or your tape measure and just start measuring, or take your own clothing. Just start measuring. What is your shoulder? 4.5 inches. What kind of a cap does it have? What are your underarm measurements? So you start familiarizing yourself with what kind of measurements go into creating that garment.
See, that's another thing I was talking to you guys about in the videos, where you can go into stores, find the garments that are similar to a garment that you're creating, try to get it in the similar fabric too, because the fabric's going to make a difference in the measurements, and you can measure those garments if you aren't sure of the different measurements you should use, or clothing in your own closet if it's similar to something that you're wearing. This is how you learn to do it, and then eventually you get familiar with those measurements, and it becomes a lot easier where you don't need to go into the store anymore, because you pretty much know the measurements you need to use for specific type of garments and specific fabrics. You'll also eventually with time have a bunch of tech packs already done. So if you have a similar garment from a few years ago and you're creating a new garment, a newer version of it, you can go back to those measurements and then adjust as needed. Promise you, this is not uncommon. Again, this is something I did in school. They literally took us on a trip to the shopping center. We went in Macy's and this is what we had to do.
Packaging information. So is it sustainable? We're seeing some amazing stands here that have sustainable packaging. You have to think about incorporating sustainability is so key these days, as we all know. So where are you going to begin? Whether or not you begin with sustainable fabrics and producing and dyeing and printing. I had a very interesting conversation with a gentleman this morning from Vietnam, and everything he does is sustainable. So even the dyeing and the printing. So there's some very, very innovative ideas that can be incorporated into your new brand. So packaging, how is it going to be folded? That's another thing, because you may start selling as you grow to department stores, and they'll give you directions as to how to package your garments and how they're going to be. Are they going to be hung? Are they going to be folded with tissues? And then making sure that they are all shipped together. Otherwise, you might find you're going to get chargebacks from some of those department stores.
Be careful.
So packaging information, as I say, with bras, or they might need tissue balls. So having a clear understanding, how is this garment going to be packed, is very important for the shipping of the goods. A line sheet.
Here we go, line
sheets. Used
sheets.
for the sales. So you need to have a good line sheet, like a brochure really, extra information about the line, including the styles, the colors available in the line, price points, style numbers, sizes available. The line sheet can be produced in a variety of ways. It could be either done with drawings, or like a flat, or it can be photography, it can be computer-aided graphics, or fashion illustration.
I have a video on the line sheets too, but here are her examples.
Your sales rep, as you walk around and you see some of the designers in their booth, you can see maybe pick up line sheets, so you can use those for your own reference when you come to, maybe you're choosing a dress and then you're choosing some other pieces to go with it. So a line sheet can be in this way. There's another example with handbags, with an actual garment, with a photograph. I wanted to just go over with you, if I can, some point. That was an overview of tech packs. What I'm going to review with you now is the costing of a garment. Now,
I know a lot of you guys always have questions on the costing.
To give you an idea. Okay, so what goes into the costing of a garment? Why does a dress cost $300 at Neiman Marcus, and maybe at Target something very similar will be $29.99? So is it really the complexity of the design? The state of the label, what kind of label is it? The brand, that's another thing. Is it produced offshore or domestically? What's your fabric cost? That's where you're going to start when you've got an idea and you're going out to source your fabrics. Don't get tempted to go and buy retail. You need to really source where you can buy wholesale. You'll need to get a wholesale license. So your cost of your fabrics, who are you going to sell to, the retailer store from which the dress is purchased? Does the image of buying from Nordstrom's or Neiman Marcus mean that you know you're going to be paying more money? Usually it does, right? So determining price point, your price point will usually be determined by your selling price. So identifying
work backwards, like I told you guys.
Is the first thing. Obviously you're not going to be hanging in Target because you can't afford to make it for those prices. So there are many ways of calculating your wholesale selling price, or the cost of goods.
This is for you guys that want to sell at wholesale. This is not for you that are selling directly to consumer.
One small miscalculation miscalculation or forgotten cost can be really devastating to your profit margin, which will be undermine the survival of your business. You do one wrong costing, you end up maybe losing your season,
losing a lot of money.
business. So really pay
That's why I say include everything that you're paying for that garment, including overhead.
Companies often preoccupied with designing and underestimating the importance of costing and calculating their overheads. Costs are not always correctly detailed until aftermarket and the orders are in. Realize all costs involved in manufacturing, what it costs to operate your business. A lot of people, I know you start from home and you're contracting out, but eventually you're going to have to think about, well, am I going to get an office eventually? Your overheads need to be calculated into your cost sheets. So again, important to stay within your chosen price range. Who is your target market and what will they be willing to pay? Identifying who your competitors are and their price points. Remember, we've all got competition. What is your wholesale and retail price range when working backwards? So we start off, so say you see a garment in, let's say Macy's for $120. Let's go backwards from there. So
work backwards.
They've probably bought that from you for around about 55 or something. They usually mark up between 100 and 120%. So they bought it from you, say from 50, and then work backwards. Have you been able to make that garment for around about $25 or $23? So you start off with your fabrics, go all the way back from how much is it a yard? You're buying your fabrics for $5 a yard. You're using 2 yards, that's $10. What goes into producing the cutting and sewing? So maybe they're sewing it for, $20. So you're already up to, $30. So how are you going to make a profit on this? If you sell it for $50, okay, you've got $20 there, but you've not added in any overheads. So you're always constantly going to rework these numbers to make sure that your costs are realized. And, that means how much do you want to get paid a month, an hour, or whatever it is that you're doing. Then don't forget you've got your sales reps. So cost is the only variable which can be controlled by you. So your price equals your cost and then your profit. So understand the key elements when costing will assure a gross and a net profit margin. Check your maths. Can your garment stand the retail markup of 120%? So, or 2.2. Still have a customer demand for your product. You must consistently deliver 3 things: your price, your quality, and on-time delivery. Now this is part of your own story and it's part of your own branding. We know that buyers want to buy from you, and when they ask to be delivered within a certain window and something goes wrong with you and your manufacturer offshore can't produce the goods on time, what are you going to do? They'll often cancel an order if your goods are not shipped on time. So working with reliable manufacturers who are translucent, transparent with you, so if there is an issue with manufacturing, that they will let you know so that you can let the retailer know who's placed the orders. Really important. And of course, we've all been aware with what's going on with the containers and how they've been backed up.
A disaster.
The price of that has been another issue. So a lot of manufacturers are really seriously bringing back manufacturing to nearshore, whether domestic or local. And that means they can be shipped or trucked over the border, or it's not so far to be shipped, so that you're not waiting for 6 weeks or 2 months for the goods to arrive. A lot of the manufacturers are having goods flown in. So constantly analyze who you're working with, where they can make it, and again, check everything out. You've got lots of moving parts to this business. So each part of it, whether it's the textile people, the manufacturers, the salespeople, the people who are going to be sewing it, please check them out. Get credentials, get recommendations. There's a lot of things can go wrong. So in this beginning part of your journey, it's really important that you have an overview of exactly what's going on. So checking your maths. Can your garment stand the retailer markup and still get a customer demand for your product? You must consistently, as I say, your price point, your quality, and on-time delivery. So 3 stages of costing. Cost to produce the garment, it's determined by the fabric,
This is what you'll be
intensity
paying.
of the design and the production process, which can be reduced by modifying or changing the garments. If produced offshore, this must be landed cost of goods.
Always do
including freight
landed.
and duty. Cost plus markup percentage is determined by a couple of factors. How many units that are needed to be manufactured in order to cover the overheads of realizing a profit? What can your market niche stand? We're looking as a small manufacturer, you're going to be producing smaller units. And a lot of the manufacturers, both domestic and offshore, are realizing that. And so you need to say, okay, I'm only needing 50 garments to begin with. The last thing you need to do is overestimate what you're going to be producing. Otherwise, you'll end up with a warehouse full of goods
Full
that's
of
not
inventory.
sold. So
You'll be stuck, and then there's no profit in that.
retail selling price, having a realistic understanding of the price structure of the market niche will help when determining the final cost.
This is what the
Final
customer
retail
will be selling it at if
price
you're
must
selling
always be
to
considered when
another
choosing
business, so
fabric,
B2B.
trims and design. Profit margin is predetermined by you and should not be undercut. So warning, a large potential order from a department store may reduce your profit margins. So you really need to grow slowly, organically. If you take a large order, it is not necessarily in your company's best interest. Rework your numbers before you accept orders if there are any requests for discounts. Often the big department stores will ask for an 8% discount because they're ordering a certain amount. So you need to, if you're a sales rep or you are meeting with department stores, then have that in mind. They're going to maybe ask for an 8% discount. Add that on your cost sheet before you go in, so you're not suddenly finding you're diluting your profits. So check with your contractors, see if they will discount their costs for larger orders. However, if you don't get the agreed to order that your contractor requires for his production, please don't take the order. You'll end up with a
Not
warehouse
all
full of
orders
goods.
are good orders.
Cash
Be
flow.
careful.
The beginning of a business, a lot of times don't realize how much money goes out. So where's your money coming from? How many of you got savings? A lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to borrow the money. In the beginning, you probably won't get a loan because you need to sort of pre-show that you know what you're doing. People want to know and see that you actually know what you're doing. So where does your money come from? Have you got savings? Have you got friends and family who can help you with your money? Do you own a house? Can you take the collateral from the house, the loan against the house? A lot of people go, I don't want to do that, I want to borrow the money. Well, if you've got a home and you've got some equity in it, you'll find that most people won't loan you money unless you're using some of your own money to gamble as well, because it's just basically...
If you're not willing to take the risk, they're not taking a risk on you.
Identifying sources of funding before the need arises. Understanding your financial plan and your cash flow needs. How many of you got business plans? Okay, 2, 3. Anybody else? Good. Okay, I really strongly suggest you take time, those of you who haven't.
Now, for those of you that have been watching my channel for a while, I would hope you have your business plan done by now because I've literally given you guys a free template. There's no reason to not have one. And if you're out here trying to borrow money, create your business plan.
On this to outline some business plan. I have an example in my book, but it's also, I recommend wherever you are, go to SBA, Small Business Association, usually in most cities and towns. I found them to be incredibly helpful. They won't necessarily be apparel people, but they'll help you with a business plan. Sometimes they'll even help you with legal matters. So I know when I was getting my Fashion for Profit trademark for China, that was quite a deal, but I did get an attorney to help me file that in China, and I actually got a grant for about $10,000 to help me do this. So there are some sort of funding out there that can help new companies. So investigate who can help you and how you can get the help. Investigate getting your business plan done. I recommend you start with maybe doing what we call an investment deck. That's a business plan done with a PowerPoint.
That's what I got you guys started with. That's what the template's for.
What you need to seriously consider when you put together a 20-page business plan. So start slow, but understand the questions you need to have answered before you jump into it. Know when you will be paid. That's another important thing. Of course, I've seen in some factories they've got on the wall big charts. Okay, we got money coming in from Macy's, we got money going out for paying fabric, we got money going out for contracting. So having a good understanding, this money should be coming in. So you have an understanding of where this money is going. And that's why it can be so confusing when you have people who are late payers. It can really throw you off. So having an understanding when the money is coming in and when you can pay. Ask buyers to pay on their credit card when they place an order. You charge that credit card.
Can you guys just look at that? Cash flow is the name of the game. I was stressing this in multiple videos before where I'm telling you guys cash flow is really key in keeping your business up and running. If you hit those negatives as far as your cash flow of your business, that cash flow can be one of the quickest ways to put you out of business. Cash flow is really important when running a business. So listen to her, listen to me, listen to anyone telling you about paying attention to your cash flow. They know what they're talking about.
The day you ship. You don't charge it until then. Another thing is check that credit card before you start charging it. You never know, they might be giving you an old credit card and you're producing the goods and shipping it.
This is huge.
So
She's saving a lot of you guys.
If you give you a credit card, you make sure it is a current credit card, and then the day you ship, you email and say, "I'm shipped the goods, I'm charging your credit card." That way they've still got 30 days to pay the credit card. So
this is usually for the corporate stores, the department stores and stuff, the bigger stores. Smaller boutiques, you don't have to worry about this with. They usually pay up front.
As we talked about, department stores are something that can be a nightmare. You don't really want to go there in the beginning until you've got some more experience under your feet. Some company I was working with, he had an order from Macy's, and he was actually a sewer. He had about 26 sewers in LA, and he got an order for 250,000. And he didn't read his big book of directions as to how to ship the goods. He was charged back by Macy's 170,000. So he ended up losing his
The department stores do not play when it comes to their chargebacks. Read all the fine print.
By selling to those big department stores. Start the ones who are going to be faithful to you are those little stores, the boutiques and the retailers who will come back to you again. It's built on relationships. You build those relationships, they'll come back and buy from you again. It's really important that you have that contact with those buyers. You call them up, how's it going? Are they selling through? And they'll let you know. Sales reps. If you need to find a sales rep, how many of you got sales reps? So if you do decide to find a sales rep, sometimes that's difficult to find. I suggest if you're living around LA or in New York, you go to the marts and you walk around those showrooms and you see a showroom that may be carrying a brand that you feel where your brand would fit in, and maybe you can approach them. Another thing is if you do a trade show yourself, which I really recommend, you get the experience of exposing and knowing how to sell, knowing how to merchandise your goods, and then if you're doing well,
it's a lot of fun too. Try
it. The
sales
rep will find you. So going to these shows like this is really important for you to have an understanding, where do you want to hang? Who would you hang with? Finding the right sales rep. But again, understanding a sales rep's not free. So they're going to be probably asking for you showroom participation fee. In LA, that could be $800 a month. New York could be $1,200 a month, plus commission. So you're paying them 12% commission, plus monthly fee of $800 or $1,000, and then which is supposed to be for a participation towards the rent. So you really seriously have to understand, where's that money all going, and can they really sell enough for you to make a profit? Check them out. If you see other brands within their showroom, get those brands, call them up and say, are you happy with the sales rep? Check everybody out. Very important.
Do your work.
A rep who took my line to New York and took my label out and put somebody else's label in. Long story. But so you really seriously need to know. Another of my clients had a rep in New York, and she flew out to New York, and they were all in the back closet. She had about, 20 lines in the showroom, and each line paying $1,000. Why do you need to sell, right? You're getting $20,000 a month just charging these lines to exhibit in their showrooms. So check everybody out. It's about relationships. So understanding, finding good sales reps, they can be.
So just to help you guys out that don't understand what she's talking about right now, basically she's saying for those of you that have designed your own line and you're hiring other sales reps to sell your line for you, maybe mostly those are usually for selling it to other businesses. So this is for B2B. She's gonna get into B2C, selling directly to consumers, but right now she's talking about B2B. So there's some showrooms out there that are at market where they're multi-brand showrooms where there's sales reps in there basically showing your line off to buyers of retail stores, the department stores, and they pitch your line for you. So she's basically letting you know how you can find those by going to the markets and finding those sales reps looking for those multi-brand showrooms. But she's also giving you guys those tips to be careful when doing it, because there are some shady people out there. She talked about her own experience where they took the labels out of her clothing and put another brand's label in there. So they probably were making more money from this other brand, but used her designs because her designs were better and pushed their product, and probably then went to that brand, told them, you know, make these garments, this is what they're buying. So pretty much they just stole her brand. Or the other person where they had her brand basically in a closet, so they weren't even showing it. She's paying to have her product displayed in their showroom. She's paying a monthly rent and her stuff's sitting in a closet. So that means buyers aren't seeing it. So you want to be careful with that. Be careful who you're hiring to sell your stuff. Make sure you're in a showroom that's front and center. You want your stuff to be seen. Make sure they're actually showing your brand to buyers, giving out your line sheets. Make sure they're not changing the labels on you. You want to be careful doing it, or better yet, rent out your own booth during a trade show and show your own line, is what she was saying. You can go try it. And I agree, it's actually a lot of fun doing the shows. It's a lot of work, but it can be worth it, especially if you get a good location at one of the shows. But I'll let her finish explaining it all to you guys. I just wanted to clarify for those of you that have no idea what she's talking about having your line in these other showrooms.
Either make or break you. They can really make you, and I know some really wonderful sales reps, so I'm not putting them down. There are some great people out there. They've got the connections to the stores that you want to sell to, which is another important factor, and they can help network you in to the stores where you want to belong. So what else have you got? So net profit, costing calculations. So your wholesale price, that's for an example, is $32.32. Subtract the cost of goods, which is $16.16. What's your gross profit margin is $16.16. What's your net profit margin? So your wholesale price, your selling price is $32.32. Subtract your sales commission, 10%. Could be 12%.
You guys can screenshot this. This is like her formula for figuring out your net
subtract
profit.
that, $3.32. And then after the commission, it's $29.09. And then you subtract that from the actual cost of the goods. That's $16.16. So your net profit now is $12.93. Now that's without even adding your overheads. So your profit margin is being diluted. So operation costs, that's your design development, should be monitored closely for excessive expenditure. How many samples produced per season? Development for one sample is approximately $500 each. Then your fabrics and your first patterns, your cutting, your sewing, your fitting and adjustments. If it's tailored goods, it would be more than that. So we're seeing a lot more with computerized rendering of designs. Any of you looked at Tuka? You can do avatar designing, changing the designs. They did a fabulous fashion show in the Newmark downtown using the Tuka system. They designed the line on avatars, on the robots in the computer, and you could see them adjusting the fit, and then they finalized it all on an avatar, and then out came the model wearing the garment. This was down the runway. So you can really change. This is changing the world as far as the fashion industry is concerned. This goes more onto the demand of garments, demand of products. We're also, I would strongly suggest, those of you who are creative designers, I don't know about you, but I've ended up with a garage full of fabrics and all sorts of stuff, which I overbought and donating to colleges. But you really be careful, because you can spend too much money going to fabric shows and suddenly, oh, I'd like 5 yards of that, that's great. And you end up with all these rolls of fabric. Overestimating production is another problem. Selling direct, and how many of you are selling B2C?
Here you go, B2C now.
All right.
So those of you that are
B2C.
selling directly to the customer,
It's the way to go,
not
right?
to other businesses.
So what does that do? It means you haven't got that markup. So you've got your cost, and you've got your overheads included, you've got your profit added on, but you don't have that markup of a retailer. You're selling direct to the customers. So this is the new way of going, and you can start building up your client if you're good at social media, as a lot of you younger people can do your social media, getting people involved so they want to come back to your website and have a look at what people are wearing and how they're wearing. How are you people, how are you doing on your B2B? Is it good? I mean, B2C, sorry. Yeah? Good. We'd love to know the story later on, okay. So you've also got to be thinking about, if you are doing B2C, who's going to do the shipping and the packing? So there are agencies, as you grow your business, who will do the picking and packing. And usually you can add on about 6% for shipping and packing for somebody to do that from a warehouse. Is that what are you doing your own? Yes. 6%? Good. Okay. Okay, so then of course you need speed to market. Somebody places an order, how fast is it going to be shipped to you? So if people buy impulse buying, I'm sure you go online and you buy something, how fast is it going to get to you? So if you are making domestically, or you've got a warehouse full of it, so it's a matter of who can make it fast enough, and have you got the goods to supply. So for the most part, mass-produced clothing is produced offshore, but it's coming back. So made in the USA is now in demand, which is great. Unfortunately, we've not invested in our own infrastructure, so it's still tough to find good factories who are equipped to do the sophisticated things that they need to do. But I know there are some big investments in going into some of these amazing factories, which are happening. Some in Arizona, some in Carolinas. There are some now in California that are being built, which I think is very exciting.
And soon Florida.
We're seeing a lot of investors investing from offshore into producing, which is another great thing. So lower cost of offshore workers cost has increased as well. And then, of course, you've got to consider, what does it cost to ship the goods? So there are a lot of things to really consider when you're producing your goods. Smaller orders are equal good for new companies who are nimble and can turn on a dime. Speculation of sales and inventory buildup. Many design-driven companies become enamored with their own designs. They stock up with fabrics in regard of their financial downsizing. The goods inevitably end up discounted with heavy losses and accounting. So you've constantly got to watch this, because money goes out so fast. Where does it go to? So you should be 80% sold before asking for finance. Now there are loans out there, and as I say, if once you start building your orders, then you can go maybe get a refactor. Now a factor is something that will loan money on big orders, and they'll charge you a percentage. Refactors will loan from a factor, and of course they charge you as well. So considering where does your loan come from is very important. So you should be 80% sold before asking for finance. So not 20% and speculating on 80. This will result in inventory buildup. Important to build inventory on orders written, not on speculation. Sometimes what you think is beautiful, other people don't. And you've also got to have a Teflon coat. You start showing garments that you've fallen in love with your designs, and you show it to a sales rep, and they, oh, no, don't think so. So really having a Teflon coat and taking advice from people within the industry is a good idea. So don't totally fall in love with all your stuff. So remember, 80% of your business will be in 20% of your styles. Sometimes you'll find that one style will sell much more than others.
You'll have that one that'll blow out, and then everything else,
those 20% are the top sellers. The others, which you may need to keep the whole line together, you're showing a top with a bottom. You're merchandising the goods to show how they can be worn. And maybe considering sort of sizing when you do that. So you're showing a design how it can be worn on a certain body type. Short-waisted, long-waisted, long legs, short legs, bigger busted. Those are the ways that, how will that garment look shown in different ways is another way of, especially if you're selling direct to customers. We're seeing people having the body scanned so they can see those garments actually on themselves before they buy it. So there's some really interesting amazing things going on that will really help in the future. So think ahead. Due to the many variables in our global economy, current costs may need to be revised. The revision is always upwards. Deciding to produce offshore will need a plan for travel. I always suggest go and visit the factories that you're going to work with, if possible. Keep informed firsthand, not secondhand, when planning your production. Make sure that whoever you are working with have all the certifications they need. There are so many different things to consider when working with different companies, depending on what kind of fabrics you're working with. How many of you are in California? Just one? Okay. Any in New York? Okay, California, make sure you've got a manufacturing license. And everybody you work with, they need a contractor's license. So that means you have to pay a yearly fee of about $750. The contractor then, who's the one, people always think the contractor is a manufacturer. You are the manufacturer, you're buying the fabrics, you're making the decision, you're telling them how it's made. So, and then the contractor, they need to have a contractor's license. It's like $250. So making sure that you have all those certifications will be important to the final selling price of your garment. So that's an overview, a very speedy overview. Any of you with any questions, I'm here, and we have a lady here with a microphone. This lady here has a question.
Hi, my name is Emily, and I have two unrelated questions. The first is it appropriate to ask for references for, you had mentioned that it was a good idea to ask for references for the sales agents, but what about for the other people that you're dealing with? That's my first question. And the other is...
Everyone.
Everyone. So it's appropriate to...
I find the biggest problem I've seen is new companies going to someone who says they can do your full production, they can do your pattern making and your sampling and your everything you need to do, right? There's so many of them out there. And just email me when you found one, okay? And I'll tell you.
Okay, perfect.
Because there's some really, some sad stories of people going to people, getting them made and trusting them. So again, get your references.
Okay, excellent. And then, I'm sorry, I was just a few minutes late, and you may have already covered this, but...
Speak up, yeah.
Oh, in your tech pack, is it appropriate to indicate the steps in which you think the product should be made?
Absolutely.
Yes, it will be in your tech pack,
tech pack.
but you have to make sure that whoever makes it, are you sewing it yourself, or you got someone to make it for you? You're sewing it yourself? Pardon?
Just the prototype.
Yeah. Okay, so you're familiar, you've got training and all that, right? You've got the machinery, right? That's good. Yeah, no, that will be part of your tech pack. Yeah. Sewing the shoulder first, and putting your sleeve in, showing your underarms, how are you going to make it? Yeah. Any other questions? Well, do stop by and see me. It's lovely to meet you, and I wish you all the very best with you.
So that's the entire seminar. I just wanted to show you guys because she's hitting on a lot of key points, giving a lot of tips, a lot of the stuff that I've already mentioned to you guys. But I just want you to hear it again from someone else that is being honest with you. Everyone can do this if you really want to. It's just a matter of doing your research, paying attention to everything, and just really getting an understanding of what it is you're getting into before you jump into it. But that's it for this week's video, guys. Thank you for watching.